Hi guys, welcome to my channel. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is doing great. If you are new here, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. So in this video I'm going to show you how to cut and sew an envelope flace dress. So let's get started. So we're going to be cutting the lower part of this dress first, and we are going to be folding our fabric. Okay, so you fold into two. I've folded into two already. And see, then you fold again this way, making it four. Okay, four. Now fold into two, then you fold again. So the length of my skirt, that's the lower part, is going to be 25 inches. Now for you to know how to measure your length, remember that the skirt has this longer part. The edges are longer than the center front and the sides. Okay, so for you to know where you want your front to actually stop, you're going to take the measurements from your waistline down to where you want your front to stop. Okay, and when you're done doing that, you are going to be calculating the radius of your waist, waist, that is a round waist. So for the radius of our round waist, we'll be working with 6.28 because it's a full circle. But if you are doing a half circle, you use 3.140. These figures are standard for calculating full flay and half flay. So for full flay, you're going to be using 6.28. So when you use the 6.28 to divide 30, our waistline is 30, the round waist is 36, plus 2 inches for zipper will give us 38. There won't be any opening around the sides. It's only at the center back that we're going to have opening for the zipper. So the 2 inches is for the zipper allowance. So when you add it to 36 inches, we'll have 38 inches. So you're going to be using 6.28 to divide 38 inches, and when we do that, we'll have 6 inches. Now 6 inches, you're going to add 6 inches to the length of your skirt, which is 25 inches. Okay, mine is 25. When I add 6 inches to that, that will give me 31 inches. Okay, so I'm going to measure 31 inches this way. Okay, then I'm going to measure 31 inches here and mark. Then I'm going to measure 31 inches here and mark also. Then at this side again, I'm going to measure 31 inches. Then I'll cut it out, meaning that all the sides will be equal. And while you are doing that, make sure that you have already folded into four, just like the way I showed you earlier. Okay, you make sure that all the sides are equal while your fabric is on fold into four. Okay, so I'll quickly do that and we'll continue. So this is my square now. Can you see the four sides are all equal? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark out my radius, that is the waist line. Okay, so remember we are working with 6 inches, and you still remember how we got that 6 inches. So I'm going to place my tape on this end here, at this end, at this angle, and I will take the waist. I will mark out the waist. Okay, if you know how to cut flake before now, this shouldn't be a problem. So I'll mark 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, making sure that your tape does not move from this angle. Okay, I'll continue that 6 inches. So we're going to measure what we have here to be sure that we have our correct waist measurement plus the zipper allowance. So I have that. I have a 9.5. Okay, so it's supposed to be 9 1/4, but I have 9.5. I still know how to maneuver it. So the next thing we're going to do is to add half of an inch at the top part for seam allowance to enable us join to the upper part of the dress. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut this out now. I'll still go ahead and measure it to be sure that I have 9 1/4 now. So the next thing we're going to do now is we are going to open one end, and that side we're going to open will become our zipper allowance that is in the center back. So before we open, we're going to notch this part. This part will enable us, if we notch it, will enable us to know where the sides are. Okay, so I'm going to notch one of this side, that will be my center front. Then the other end, I'm going to slash it open, and that becomes the center back. That's it. Our envelope skirt is ready. Can you see how the hemline looks like? Can you see? It's looking beautiful already. So we'll go over to the top part of this dress. So this is what is left after cutting the lower part of this dress. And by the way, the fabric is 3 yards. So please, when you're getting the fabric for this very style, get a 3.5 or 4 inches, okay, depending on how you want your flay, as in the center front, how long you want yours. So for the upper part is going to have a joining at the center front because of the size of fabric we have left. Okay, so I'm going to be closing it at the center front, but if I had enough, there wouldn't be any need for me to have the center front to have any kind of joining. Okay, so that's why you should get 3.5 or 3.5 or 4 yards of fabric. So we're going to be, I've already marked out the line, as you can see. That is the allowance for joining the sides. Okay, so for the front is going to have a bust dart, because my front is longer than the back. So for the front, I'm working with 17.5, while the back is 15 inches. So the front is longer than the back by 2.5 inches. So I also had half of an inch to join to the lower part. That will give me 18 inches. So I have 18 here. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is to take a measurement. So the shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches. Divided by 2 will give me 7.5, plus half of an inch to join to the sleeve will give me 8 inches. Okay, so by the way, this gown is going to have sleeve. It's not going to be sleeveless. So at that point, I'm going to mark 1 inch, then take the armhole length, which is 8 inches. Next, I'm going to take the width of the neckline, and the width of the neckline is 3.5, and the depth. So the depth is going to be 4 inches. Remember, we're cutting the front first. Okay, so we're going to connect the 2 points together. Okay, extend it to the allowance for joining it. It's like I will increase this neck width to 4 inches. So it's now 4 by 4. The neck width is 4 inches, the neck depth is 4 inches as well. I hope you're still following. So the next thing we are going to do is to connect this to the 1 inch shoulder slope. So I'll measure whatever I have on the shoulder and mark it so I can get a straight line for my armhole line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is to take the bust measurement. The bust I'm working with is 40 divided by 4 will give me 10 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance will give me 11.5. So I'm going to add a little ease of 1/4, and that will give me 11 1/4. Please take note of where my measurement is starting from. It's starting from this line, okay, not here, from this line I marked earlier. So I'm going to connect this way, then get the midpoint of this armhole line, go in by 3/4 of an inch, and I'll mark out the armhole curve. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark the bust point height. So for the bust point height is 11 inches, and this is it. So at that point I'm going to take my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. Then I'm add 1.5 to it. It will give me, sorry, the nipple to nipple is 4.5. I will add 1.5 to that. That will give me 6 inches. Okay, so it's at that 6 inches, that's where my dart will start from. You get your nipple to nipple measurement, add 1.5 to that. Okay, whatever it gives you, that's where your dart will start from. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to connect our waistline. The waist is 36 divided by 4 will give us 9 inches plus 1 inch, 10 inches. Then we'll add ease to that, maybe half of an inch, that is 10.5. So we're going to connect to our bust, then we'll continue with the bust dart. Okay, so at that line you're going to mark your bust height. Okay, I hope you're still following. And remember that the difference between the back and the front is 2.5. So at that your bust point line, you're going to go down by 2.5. So you're going to connect to that your point that you made earlier, where your dart is going to start from, like that 6 inches. Okay, so this is our bust dart. So the next thing we're going to do here is to cut this out. Okay, so I'm going to be dividing this dart leg into 2, and I will have a 1/4. Okay, as the midpoint, 1/4. So I'll connect it to where I want the dart to start from. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is to cut this out. Now watch me and see how I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut out the neckline first, then before I go over to the dart. So please pay attention. Remember to add a half of an inch to your shoulder to join to the back. Okay, then we'll cut the armhole. So go over to the waist, cut. Now at this point I want to show you how to cut your dart this side. So we're going to pick our dart leg, the two dart leg, fold it into 2. Can you see? Fold it into 2 this way. I hope you're still following. Can you see? Then when you fold it into 2, you will notice that the bust line and the waistline are no longer connecting. You can see the waistline, see where the bust line is. You can see it's not connecting. So well, what you're going to do is to use our ruler and connect the bust to the waistline again. I hope you're still following. So will cut. Please, you're going to do this before you cut the side, so that you won't have any form of shortage while taking your bust darts. You hold your darts, fold into two, hold it down, then connect your waistline to your bust again. Redraw the line. Can you see? So when you release it, you see what you're going to have. Can you see? So that is it for the front. So we'll go over to the back. So the length of the back is 15 inches plus half of an inch to join to the lower part. That will give us 15 and a half. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark out our zipper allowance of 1 inch. So at the starting line, we're going to mark the shoulder, which is 7.5 plus half of an inch. We're joining to the sleeve 8 inches. At that point, we're going to go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Take the neck width, which is 4 inches, and the neck depth, which is 1 inch. So we're going to connect the points, then connect to the 1 inch shoulder slope. Next, we're going to get angle line, which is 8 inches. Okay. So for me to get a perfect straight line for the armhole, I'm going to measure whatever I have at the shoulder line and put this here. Put it here. So I'll get the midpoint of the armhole line and go in by half of an inch. So at the bust line, I'm going to measure my bust, which is 40 divided by 4, 10 inches plus half of an inch. Sorry, 1 inch for seam allowance, 11. Then I'll add 1/4 of an inch for ease. That will give me 11 1/4. Take note that my measurement is starting from this zipper line. That is the line I have here. Okay, so coming to the waist, we impute our waist measurement 36 divided by 4. That is 9 plus 1 inch for seam allowance and half of an inch for ease. That's 10.5. So I'll connect the points, mark out to my bust line, and I'll connect to form the curve for the armhole. This shouldn't be an issue. How to draft your basic block. Okay. So we're done with the back. So I'll quickly cut this out, then we'll go over to the sleeve. I'm going to cut the sleeve. The height of the sleeve is 10 inches, and that includes 1 inch for hemming and half of an inch to join to the shoulder. That's the top part. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark the cap height, which is 3.5. Okay, so please, before you cut out your sleeve, always check whether it will match with your armhole. So I always cross-check that before I cut it out. So I measure from here, not from this allowance, from here around my armhole. So I got a 10.5. 10.5. Let me be sure. Yes. Okay, 10 1/4, 10 3/4. Sorry. So I'm going to. So if you have this kind of curve ruler, it will be easier for you to cut out your sleeve. It's very easy. It's going to give you a perfect curve. So I'm going to check what I have here. Yes, perfect. So I'm going to take the width of my hem, take the round hem, and for the round hem I'm working with 12 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and put this. So I've got the 2 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do here is to cut the facing for the front. The facing for the front. Just for you to trace it, that's all. And when you want to fix the fabric, you iron hair stay to it to stabilize it. So here I'm going to determine the width of your facing. So I want mine to be 3 inches from the shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to go this way and connect it to the shoulder with my free hand. So I'll cut two of this and also cut the facing for the back. This is the dress. I'm done sewing the dress. As you can see, there's a belt. I also have a belt holder here. So for the center front, I close it, leaving small opening here. And this is the back, the sleeve. So I'll open it up so I can see the facing. So this is the facing, the bust darts. So this is the other side. This is the finished look. Thank you so much for watching and see you in my next one.